Well, hello one and all to the IF project, the 1967 BSA A65. I know IF was a 68, but it's close enough. Right, well, this BSA is mine's going well, but it's been joined by a younger brother. And I'm going to show you. In fact, you can probably see it in the background there. It's a 1971 Thunderbolt. It belongs to a friend of mine. Mr. Robert. It's actually in good shape. I bought this bike many years ago. I bought it in 1985 at an air base in the New Territories in Hong Kong called Sekong. And I bought it from a military policeman called Albert Finney, which was strange. I had kept a receipt for years just because it said Albert Finney, like the actor. Anyway, here she is. She actually runs. It's just in rough shape. The wheels are bad. The front wheel is an 18-inch. It came off. I don't know what it came off, a B40, I think. Because the original wheels are just done. In fact, that's one of them there. And I've started cutting the spokes off. Well, I have cut the spokes off. And starting about it, they're cut off. The rims are the hubs are pretty rusty. Rob and I were discussing this, and I didn't know whether to polish them or whether to just clean them up and paint them. So I'm probably going to go with the silver paint, I think. I think if this was a show bike, I'd probably would have polished them, but it isn't. It's going to be used. It's going to be a daily ride. So, and I know that polished rims, they don't last forever. So, but anyway, yep, she's in pretty good nick. There's another wheel out here. This is the back wheel. And the easiest way to get them off is honestly just to get the old zip cut grinder and just cut the spokes off. So that's just going to go straight to the tip. I don't even need to tip tire off. I won't bother saving the tube. The bearings are absolutely seized, so I've got them in here. This is the retainer for the bearing on the rear conical hub. And I'm going to explain something here. Oh, incidentally, I've cleaned out my crankshaft. I cleaned it out thoroughly with a bottle brush, gasoline. I took the plug out there. I think I showed you that in the last video. The plug is there somewhere. Anyway, that's all cleaned out, and I basically just I actually took the flywheel out, the Thunderbolt out, and I squirted gas through there until it came out of all the bearing journals. This has been ground. I'm not particularly happy with it, to be honest with you. There isn't much of a radius on that main bearing I've mentioned that before. It's very important because this can shear right through, but I'm not going to be riding on a race circuit, so hopefully it'll be right. What else do I do? Replace the crank. That'd be expensive. This is the rear conical hub. It's looking a lot prettier since I cleaned up. Now this thing, it's very important, a lot of people get this wrong. It screws in. Normally it's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Well, this is lefty-tighty, righty-loosey. It's a left-hand thread, and it actually says so on there, left hand. So to screw it in, you have to go counterclockwise. Which makes sense, because it's rotating that way to drive the speedo drive. And if it undoes that way, then that's not going to work. So what they've done is they've made it so that it can only tighten when it's driving the speedo drive. So it is a left-hand thread. So to undo it, you turn it clockwise. That's the theory anyway. It's still quite tight. This is a swine to get off this morning. It was absolutely rusted on there. Anyway, so just remember that. If you ever take the speedo drive off, and you've got to take that off to get the bearing out. There's no other way of getting the bearing out. So, actually, having said that, I think you can you drive it right through? You may be able to drive it right through to the other side, but there's no point because it comes out this side easily enough. One of the bearings is good, one of them isn't. I've cleaned it up. Usually what happens is they're a bit notchy, and then you clean them up in a cleaning fluid, and they come round, but this one I think is the good one. Yeah, that one rotates nicely. The other one is notchy, so that'll be replaced. This is a seal bearing. Oh, it's not. I thought it was a double seal bearing. That's good. That means I can clean it and I can grease it. This one's actually good, so we've got two good bearings. one wheel, and I'm hoping that the bearings on this front wheel will be good too. This is a 71 Thunderbolt. Basically the same engine as mine over there. I'll close my camera cupboard door. Basically it's the same, it's an A65. The only difference is, as far as I remember, that the Thunderbolt, a different oil pump, uprated oil pump, it was a cast iron one as opposed to a pot metal one. There's a theory that the pot metal ones distort with heat, but I don't buy that. I've never had a problem with them. But definitely the cast iron ones, they've got a higher volume. They produce more fuel. It's also got a beefier set of rods than, this is a rod off mine. This is an old one actually, this is no good. And I'm just trying to remember, I had a funny feeling, it's been a while since I've been inside one of these. I think the rods are alloy, but I think the end caps were steel. So you see on this one here, it's all alloy, the rod and the end caps. But there was a theory that what was happening is that the alloy was expanding too much under intense heat and causing oil to escape, dropping the pressure. So they put a steel end cap on the rod. I don't think they put steel rods in, but I could be wrong. I'd have to take the motor apart to find out. But in any case, the rod on the 71 is uprated, the rods. The oil pump's uprated. There was a few modifications done to them to make them a bit stronger. The clutch operating system is quite different on this. It's the same as on the Triumphs with a sort of, there's a 3-ball bearing release system. So what happens is the 3-ball bearings are in recessed slots, and as they twist, they ride up over the recesses and force the push rod in. Whereas this one, mine's got a lever system, which goes in through. It goes in through the back. It goes in through the very back there. And the other thing about the later ones is that they, whereas on these there's an oil filler here. That's where you fill the oil. This one, so you can see that the old casting mark where they had the oil filler. What they did here was they put the oil filler there, and it's also a dipstick, so you can actually check the oil too. Whereas on the older ones, you had to take out. There was a hollow nut with a long sleeve that went up underneath, and then another little bolt that went into it to seal it. And the idea was that you filled it until oil started. It reached the top of the hollow sleeve and started draining back out. And then you knew it was full. Then you put the bolt in to completely seal it. So there's a few little differences. This is single carburetor. This is actually a sweet bike. It was actually a really sweet bike. I thrashed the life out of this bike. I used to get up at my place. We used to live at a place called well, we lived near Wellington Monument in Somerset, and from where I lived to where I worked was basically a long, it was a 10-minute ride along the Ridge Road across the Black Downs. Fairly quiet road in those days, and I used to get on this bike every morning. Start it up, take it out of the garage, and then I'd gun it. And I think I pretty much did 100 miles an hour every day. Poor old bike, and it took it for years. I couldn't believe it actually. It had a problem. The end float on the crankshaft was excessive, and you could hear it knocking, unless you rode it full throttle, and it didn't. I guess it must have driven over to one side full on. But it didn't give any trouble, and then I sold it to my friend Rob. It was an interesting story, because he went to look at a Tribsa, a pre-unit Tiger 110, and it was in pieces, and it was a bit beyond him, so I said, well, I'll take the Tribsa and you can buy this one. So that's what he did. So he bought Albert here, and he bought it, and then he rode it for a few weeks, and the motor went kaboom. And the reason it went kaboom, actually, was exactly as I said. This part of the crankshaft, we didn't know what it was first of all. It was very strange. This whole timing side main bearing sheared right off flush with the crank web, with the flywheel weight, with the counterweight on the crankshaft webbing. Just came right off. When he first broke, he actually noticed the oil pressure dropping very quickly, and he stopped the engine. He had the foresight to stop the engine quickly, because he knew things weren't right. And so he stopped it, and we took it home. And first of all, I thought the main bearing had gone on the other side, because there's a lot of slop in the crank, you could move the alternator rotor around. And the more I delved into it, the more I realised there was something far more amiss than on that side, and it was actually on this side. And it was that journal that had broken right off. So he had to buy another crank, which he did, and which we put in. It's actually an earlier crank, and I know that because it vibrates more. This bike was always super smooth. It was, for an A65, it was remarkable, and then with the new crank in, it was noticeably a lot more vibration at higher revs. So, which is unfortunate, but at least it's a good crank. But it runs well. The oil pressure is really good, so it's a good motor. So as I say, I'm just going to carry on with this wheel. Next phase, I'm cleaning up the hubs. As you can see, there's a lot of corrosion on there. I guess it must be stored in a damp shed. Clean them up. I'm going to paint those. We've got some new spokes, new rims. Where are they? In here. And they're stainless rims. And they come from the Devon Rim Company, actually. That's where we got them from. And they're brand new stainless rims and spokes. And actually Bob got me some spokes as well for my wheels. And the reason he didn't get me rims is because I've already got a pair of rims in Canada. So I'm going to go back and get those. I recently purchased a second-hand mudguard, but it's actually really nice. It's in really nice condition. And I also got some badges. And they're lovely, actually. They're really good. Funnily enough, they're not actually a completely matched set because, but you know, the price is right, so what do you do? The price is perfect. One has a silver, as you have the style there is silver, and the red background. The other one is gold with the red background. So, but they're on each side of the tank, so you'll never see them unless you've got binocular vision and you can somehow clear it both sides. But in a funny sort of way, I actually rather like the idea of that. So that's what I'm going to do. So yeah, mudguard. I got those from a lovely fellow called Alan Coates who sells BSA parts, and he was very obliging. He wrapped this thing up beautifully. I couldn't believe how much packing was on it. But this mudguard is actually in sweet condition. It was a deal. It was £70, and apart from a couple of drillings that are slightly off, it's perfect. It's actually almost indistinguishable from new, so I'm very pleased with that. As I said, the ollie rag restoration is coming along apace. So the next thing for me to do on this one is put the crank back together, but I'm going to have to concentrate on this beastie. The other thing I'm going to do with this one, fork seals, fork cases. These are like Bakelite. I don't quite know what happened to them. I put those on in Hong Kong, I think. I could be wrong. I think maybe Rob put those on. I made brackets for the headlight because it didn't come with them. When I bought this bike from Albert Finney, I paid 300 Hong Kong dollars, which in those days was £30. And even in those days, in 1985, that was nothing. It was peanuts. So I bit his hand off. But he said to me if it was running, he'd charge me more, but if it wasn't running, he'd charge it. And when I got it, the plugs were out, and the pistons were absolutely welded into the cylinders, and it took a little bit of effort to get them out actually. But I got them out, rebored it, put new pistons in, rebuilt the engine. Oh, you know what? It was me that got the end float wrong. I remember that. What actually happened was I got a bearing from a company that fit perfectly on the crank and on the timing cover, but the shim cup wouldn't fit. I forget why now. So I just put the shims in, and I don't know what happened, but I think that somewhere along the line one of them came adrift or something. I'm just trying to remember. I don't actually remember the details, but anyway, it caused excessive end float. But that's not what broke the crank. What broke the crank was the lack of releasing on the journal. When I was cleaning my crankshaft out, I was flushing it through with gasoline, with petrol, and this popped out. It looks like an end cap from I don't know, like an oil can or something like that. And I don't know how long it's been in there for. The crank's been reground, and definitely the new. The stud strap wasn't cleaned out. It was actually quite dirty. It was quite full of stuff. So I don't think whoever took the engine apart did this. I think this is in from new, which is extraordinary. It just literally just washed out of the crankshaft. So it must have fallen off a shelf or something inside the crankshaft. So I'm going to keep it as a relic. It may even have caused a problem because, as I say, it ran this bearing really badly. I don't know if you can see the score marks, but it actually totally trashed that conrod. So this is it. It's got a new one. It's been reground, and so yeah, the next phase is to bolt it all back together. But as I say, old Albert here is going to take priority until that's finished. You see, that front wheel's too small. It's 18 inches. The back one's all right, but I'm doing them both because the rims are bad on. Even on the back rim on the bike is not great. It would just be nice to have it all done, new spokes and new rims, because it makes such a difference on the bike with wire wheels. On my Bonneville in Canada, I actually spent hours painting the spokes, which actually looked alright for a while, but it's starting to look a bit tatty, so I'm going to have to do those as well. Stainless spokes is the way to go. Stainless rims are better, but you know what, chrome ones are okay too, as long as you polish them up and protect them. Just keep them clean. I noticed that rear ones very rarely rust on a bike because, of course, they're always saturated in chain oil. But the front ones get a pasting. So stainless is the way to go. It's definitely the front anyway. And so that's the next step. Okay, so thank you for watching the If project again. I'm going to have to start releasing these soon. I haven't released them yet. Goodbye all.